Hi everyone, and welcome back to another one of my real in the moment videos where, like most of the videos on this channel, we're not going to have any scripts. I always want my videos to feel like I'm talking straight to you, people who are feeling it, living it, going through it as I am now in this moment. And in this video we're going to be talking about the unseen side of psoriasis and psoriatic disease. Psoriasis is a condition that carries lots of stigma. People associate it with rashes, normally on knees and elbows and things like that, and flaking and shedding skin. We face a constant battle of people thinking it's contagious or that it's because of poor hygiene and all these other sort of stigmas that affect both how the condition is perceived and seen in society, but also it affects how it's treated. It delays treatment because people stop talking about it and don't go to their doctors and ask about it. But the thing I wanted to talk about today is that I'm sitting here with a condition called inverse psoriasis. It's a topic I really want to talk about more on this channel, but if I'm being really honest, I've not felt brave enough because it does affect those unseen areas. It's a condition that affects the areas that, you know, skin folds and things like that. So armpits and groin and genitals and basically areas that most people don't want to talk about. But I published a short recently for World Psoriasis Day that talked about basically how, like, you know, you can't see any rashes on me. My skin looks fairly clear. I've got the odd little patch, a little bit on my hands. I don't know if that's going to focus or not. But anyone in the street wouldn't know I've got psoriasis, or if I was speaking to somebody else with psoriasis, one of the topics that come up a lot regarding my advocacy is, well, it's okay for you because you've got clear skin. But I haven't. I've got clear skin where you can see, you know, that's above the clothesline or whatever you want to call it. But the psoriasis I have, most of the time, like 90% of my week and my year, is with something called inverse psoriasis that you can't see, and I can't put photos of that on Instagram. It'd be a very niche area if I did, and I'll soon get taken down, I'm sure. So it causes this stigma that then you put on yourself. So for example, yesterday I had 3 baths and showers. I didn't need them. I wasn't dirty. I wasn't unclean. But having this condition in areas like the groin and places like that, it makes you feel, I don't know, it affects the way you see yourself. I look in the mirror and on those days I feel uglier. I feel dirtier. I'm more likely to wash and overwash, and I probably do more harm than good because of that. So we face all these stigmas out in the world, but ultimately with something like inverse psoriasis, I put most of that stigma on myself. You know, I have creams that have got built-in antifungals and things because of those locations. Therefore, it keeps a lid on it, that broken skin ever becoming a hygiene problem. But because I know it's there and the way it makes me feel and it's uncomfortable, I feel dirty, and therefore it affects my relationships, my intimacy, makes me not want to pick up my son when he comes around. I've got a little 5-year-old boy, sweet little boy. He'll come running up to me and want a hug, and because I feel dirty or unclean, I don't want to pick him up, and then he senses something's wrong. But what's really important to talk about, it also affects my confidence in things like my work. I work from home. I'm fortunate enough that I'm a remote worker, but all day yesterday, because I was having a flare of my condition, I didn't want to speak on camera. I didn't want to put my hand up and ask a question. I didn't want to present. There was one meeting where I had to give a presentation and all my confidence had vanished. And why had it vanished? It wasn't because you could see my psoriasis. It wasn't because I was shedding and you know, leaving flakes on the desk for co-workers to see. It was because I had this invisible element of my condition that I knew was there, and only I knew it was there, and that's all that mattered, because our psoriasis affects our mental health so much. It's so underrated and overlooked, and one of the things I not often say when I'm giving talks about this sort of thing is, like, I know what I'm walking out of the door with. You might not be able to see that psoriasis, but I know what I'm walking out into the world out of the door, and that affects me every time I go to work, walk my dog, interact with people, my relationship with my wife, and it doesn't bother her. She can't see it. you know, and maybe even if I was standing here butt naked, wouldn't that be a video for you? You wouldn't even notice it even now without me sort of like going really close inspection on it, but it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. And this is why we have to push back about the severity of someone's disease being judged by like the palm method and how much skin coverage people have got with their lesions and their rashes, because it's irrelevant. I could have the smallest spot in the wrong place and that's all that matters. It's like I could have, I don't know, let's give an example. I could have half of my chest covered, but as long as it doesn't itch too much and I can cover it with a shirt, it doesn't matter. But as a man with no hair, I could have a little patch the size of a penny here, and that's all I would think about, because people associate it with other conditions. They incorrectly assume it's something else. Poor hygiene thing comes into it again. Or like with my inverse psoriasis, which is in a location that you are never going to see, is always going to be clothed. All that matters is in here, I know it's there. And it affects everything. It affects my ability to just live my daily life, be the person I want to be. It saps my confidence, absolutely saps my confidence. And we don't talk about it enough. And it's also why I campaign for things like patient involvement, co-creation, advisory boards. So many of them are restricted to people that have moderate to severe psoriasis, and they judge that by the level of coverage on your body, and it's nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense, because one, everybody's got a voice. Doesn't matter how your psoriasis presents. If you've got psoriasis, you've got psoriasis, and you deserve an absolute say on it, and I will defend that until the last video I ever do. But also, it's completely irrelevant if you've got a rash the size of my fist or a rash the size of the end of my little finger. It's about the location and also about how it makes you feel. And that differs from person to person. It's a really important point I can't emphasise enough. What bothers me as a person with psoriasis might not bother the guy across the road who's got psoriasis, or the child trying to go through high school with psoriasis. It's completely personalised to that individual. So therefore, if we're not asking those individuals what matters to them and what does an acceptable outcome look like to them, because my acceptable outcome as a 40-year-old man with a kid is very different to that of a teenager, or somebody who's about to get married and wants to look good in their wedding photos, or that person who's just starting a new job. It's completely different for every person, yet we try to put everything in boxes, and we assume that, you know, how bad your psoriasis is depends on how much skin coverage you've got, how many rashes you've got, how big the rashes are, how visible they are. And I'm here to basically tell you it's a nonsense. Psoriasis and the invisible versions of it, and it's not invisible obviously, but what I mean is it's invisible to you at home watching this. It's invisible to the person I walk past down the street. It's invisible to the co-worker I've sat at a desk with all day. But those invisible elements of psoriasis and the mental health impact, the burden, the weight that I feel from having that psoriasis that day compared to the day when I didn't, is immeasurable. And therefore, we need to talk more about that. And I hope by me talking about my inverse psoriasis, as uncomfortable as that makes me, because I'm in here in the moment with my confidence on the floor, the last thing I want to do is be in front of you guys. But I figured if I can talk about it on these days, then maybe in the comments or between your loved one or whoever you're sitting next to on the sofa when this comes up in your feed, can start a conversation, then I've done my job. I've helped a little bit. So let me know in the comments, guys, how your psoriasis affects you, if you have similar experiences to me. And also let me know what other videos you'd like me to do on this, because, you know, this is a personal journey as well. I'm trying to put myself out there and share my experiences candidly and somewhat vulnerably, in the hope that we start conversations that can change lives. And if this helped you guys, give the video a like, tell a friend, all that jazz. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.